Joe Budden. Oh yeah. Over the weekend, it was I want to say a message that Joe Budden was, hell, what was he? Like he was coming out the closet or something. Hey, oh my, oh Jesus. So he based this on the theory of how if somebody is, they say they're homosexual, they don't seem to have these same problems as everyone else. People, they jump back if somebody says they, homosexual or in that nature. People back off with the attacks. So Joe was like, I date men and women. Spread the word so they can leave me alone. I don't want them coming after me. You see, he was saying that as a joke. But the real mission behind this whole move is to try to come up with a gimmick to push his ratings. Because his show is slipping. And they have to spend a lot of money just to keep pushing the show. Now, the ratings have dipped because we know Roy and Mal, of course. And now Rory and Mal have their own platform. And they're doing very well. And Joe says he supports everybody doing well, yada, yada, yada. So he has a different role when it comes to his show. Because he not only does that show, he also has a network of shows that he's trying to build and get paid off every single last one of them. Now, things did not go so well with the other girl that he had, on the show. Well, after the things she accused Joe of, normally people get canceled for that, especially with Joe's history. But he somehow survived it. I said Kwame Brown, he should cut him a big fat check because he saved Joe Budden from getting annihilated. Because Kwame was the only one who took over the internet and one day shook up the world. Every station talked about Kwame Brown. And that took all the attention away from Joe Budden's problems. Now, the scenario's changed with Joe because he realizes he's got to be making sure all of his platforms are successful because that's where the money comes in. Now, this show with these two new girls and everything else, Joe wants to kickstart them in the right direction. So he comes on their little show that they're doing and he just basically blurts out comments about Rory and Mal. So now anybody want to hear him talk about Rory and Mal, you got to come to this shit show that he got built. No disrespect to them ladies, I really haven't seen their show, so I can't really call it that. But they want you to come there, feel entertained, and get some more subscribers and followers to the show. And the best way for them to do that is this method that they have in place right now. So things change, or the more they stay the same. So they bring up Rory and Mal and start talking about them, knowing people want to hear him talk and respond to like Rory and Mal. So apparently, they're going to do an attack and do they slander move and talk about Rory and Maul to keep them in their conversation. Well, you saw no mention really of Joe Budden. I mean, really, once they pass him up on the level, they're done. And then he comes with an even greater game in the background. And the game is, when you use me, I use you. They try not to mention Joe. And they always say in a positive light what Joe Budden was to their lives. So they wouldn't even be doing the show that they're doing now if they didn't have that experience. And where they've moved on, Joe's been kind of broken. So I think that place has made its rounds. But I think Joe, I think he's taking a beating. A lot of people didn't give him the praise he thought he was going to get. Then when he got up, the snake moved around and, that was it. That was basically it. Joe is jealous. Joe wanted them to fade out. He always underestimated that work by telling them how much he appreciated that work. He would always underestimate them. And to make matters worse, Joe never saw their net worth. Joe never saw he never saw the value in what they brought. He thought it was all about him. And he still feels this way. He thinks Rory and Maul, right now, their success is because of him. Is because they were on the Joe Budden podcast. The podcast should have never been changed from I'll name this podcast later. I'll name this podcast later was a way better name than the Joe Budden podcast. They should have never allowed that. They did put Rory and Maul on there. So they did fight to get that on there. Then they had to fight because he decided to put the podcast episodes not on a separate, saying the Joe Budden podcast. He put it on his personal Joe Budden page, which of course would boost Joe Budden's YouTube page. But what does that have to do with Rory and Maul? He said, well, y'all can create a page and then y'all can put up clips on your own pages. Y'all go create your own YouTube page. They didn't want to do that. Their lawyers negotiated a likeness right. So they got likeness rights, which they rightfully should have had in the first place. Now, sorry about that. Somebody was texting me. If Joe was bisexual, it would answer all the questions I have ever thought about Joe. He has a lot of female tendencies in his system. But he's the one that keeps mentioning Rory and Mal. He wants to keep using that situation to promote himself. That's it. Over and over again. Joe loves to talk about Joe. So the longer he gets to talk about that, and have people talking about him, the better it's going to be. But to say the Joe Budden podcast didn't take a hit, and they got Ish and Ash and what, Ice and Ash, and oh, I don't know what they're talking about. Oh, wow. Joel Embiid has COVID now. Oh, well. There it goes. This is how it starts. This is how it starts. The NBA is not like football. 10 days, that's like 4 games. So, anyway, I don't want to hold you guys. Thank you for listening to me. You can hit the like button at any time. Subscribe to the page. It should be a little dot of a picture of me with the Joe Cool glasses. You can click that, and it automatically take you to subscribe. My Cash App is still Carsino, and my Super Chat is always working. Deuces.